All right, if you've watched a lot of my videos, these explanation videos for reading, hopefully maybe you've seen the long lesson that I've done about the reading section and specifically the no reading strategy. I'm a big fan of it, okay? Ooh, so maybe we should spell reading correctly. No reading strategy. Now, just to summarize it, remember, what I do is I do not read the passages to start. I go right to the questions and I start answering them, and most of the questions are going to tell me where to look. So this one, number one, is about the whole passage. So a big problem with the no reading strategy, not reading the passage before we answer the questions, is how would I know what the passage is about if I haven't read it? Well, I wouldn't. And so for this kind of thing, these big picture questions, I have to save these whole passage questions until the end. So hopefully, if you're going chronologically through these videos, actually you'll do all the other ones for this passage and then come back to this one. But I would have saved this for last, and that way I do kind of read most of the passage by answering the other questions. They're going to have line references, they're going to tell me where to go, and I still may skip some stuff. But the idea that underlines, this is bothering me, the no reading strategy, is that if it's a main idea, if it's an important piece of the passage, it's not going to be buried in some obscure corner of the passage, right? It's not like one line is going to mention the main idea and then it's never going to come up again. So we're betting that if it's a main idea, it's repeated. And so we may miss it in one spot, but because it's repeated, we're going to hit it in all the other times and we'll be safe even if we don't read every single word of the passage. And that's especially important because we might not understand every single word. All of this is just to say, this particular question is the rare case where I will maybe a little bit admit that the no reading strategy causes some problems, okay? Very rare. And this is like the only time in all of the official practice tests where I feel like the no reading strategy causes us to miss something that's kind of important. I still think we can get this question without it, but let me show you what I mean. And I just want to say this is an exception, so don't start doubting everything that you've learned, okay? This is an exception. It's rare, but it does happen. So which choice best summarizes the passage? I'm not going to go back, right? I've read the passage, I've done the other questions, or rather I haven't read the passage, but I've done the other questions to give me a lot of information about what's going on. So I'm going to trust my memory. So I go in here and I immediately I've got two problems for choices. C and D. A woman impersonates someone else to seek revenge on an acquaintance. That's a very strong word. And I don't remember reading this and thinking like vengeance was the topic here. Like there's some people, maybe there's a little conflict, but revenge is a very powerful idea. And I just don't remember reading that again and again and again. And that's a word that has a lot of tone implications, right? So we would see a lot of negativity in the passage if it was about revenge. The same thing about choice D, right? Immediate dislike to her new employer, right? If that were the case, I would get a lot of words about hatred and dislike and antipathy and things like that. And we don't really see that, especially near the end where Mrs. Quabarl and Lady Carlotta are interacting. They don't seem to hate each other, or at least Lady Carlotta doesn't seem to hate Mrs. Quabarl. So those words right away bother me about choices C and D. A and B, I get why people, though, get kind of stuck here between these two. A woman weighs the positive and negative aspects of accepting a new job. Well, it sounds like she's now the governess or the babysitter, basically, for this family. And then B, a woman does not correct a stranger who mistakes her for someone else. Well, that's a weird thing. I don't remember reading that, right? Who mistakes her for someone else. So maybe we pick A, because I don't remember reading B. The problem that I have with A, and the thing that makes me second guess, is that I also don't remember anyone weighing the positive and negatives of a job. So right now, from not having read the entire passage, I don't have a good reason to pick B. But I also do have a memory of the passage. I'm like, I don't think she's like saying, well, if I took the job, I would get, more money or days off. But if I didn't take the job, then, I would be free to do what I want. Like, I don't remember her being that specific and like talking through this new job and thinking about the pros and cons. So I have no evidence of either of these choices when it really comes down to it. The answer is B. And there's a part of the passage where we didn't read. So if you went by the line references, you probably also skipped this. I know that I did. And it's the point where Lady Carlotta and Mrs. Quabarl actually meet each other. So we start off, we had some questions about Lady Carlotta being on a train platform, waiting for the train. And then here, we kind of get to this point where she gets approached. You must be Miss Hope, the governess I've come to meet, said the apparition in a tone that admitted of very little argument. Very well, if I must, I must, said Lady Carlotta to herself with dangerous meekness. I am Mrs. Quabarl, continued the lady, and where, pray, is your luggage? It's gone astray, said the alleged governess. There's little clues here, falling in with the excellent rule of life that the absent are always to blame. The luggage had, in point of fact, behaved with perfect correctitude. The rest we kind of have read, where now Lady Carlotta is going with Mrs. Quabarl to meet the children. But this is the key piece, is who's Miss Hope? That name did not appear prior to that point in the passage. And there it is. There's the confusion. Mrs. Quabarl thinks that Lady Carlotta is this person, Miss Hope, who is supposed to be the governess of the children. And Lady Carlotta, for weird reasons, I guess, she's just like a weirdo, is just like, yep, sure, that's me. I'm Miss Hope. What do you need? And just like gets in the car or a carriage, I guess, with these like strangers and goes and pretends to be the governess. Like, it makes no sense because this is like clearly a kind of deranged person, Lady Carlotta. I don't know. I've never read this book, but it's weird, I guess. So there you have it. That's the proof of it. And she does call her Miss Hope again. So there are other places where we read that here, right here. Here's one. So it does come up again that Mrs. Quabarl is calling Lady Carlotta something different, and maybe that clues us in that there's some miscommunication here. This is hard. It's a hard question even without that. But like I said, don't let this one case where we may have missed something make us doubt strategies that work 80, 90% of the time otherwise, okay? Even more. I think, 95% of the time, the no reading strategy is flawless. The main thing is we need to recognize when we've got a problem. And I think here, the instinct might be to pick A because B doesn't seem right when we don't have those lines, we haven't read those lines. But A also isn't right either, and we are kind of settling for choice A here by picking it because we didn't read that either. It just seems a little bit, less bad, I guess. But we shouldn't do that, and there's where the no reading strategy can be saved, okay? If something's not right, if you're still confused, if you're doing everything right based on the no reading strategy and you still feel like you're missing something, you can always read more. That's the beauty of the no reading strategy, is it starts us with less stuff so that our brain doesn't get clogged with unnecessary information. But occasionally there's some necessary information in the stuff we skip, and we're always allowed to read more. I say this all the time when people can, fight me on the no reading strategy. It's like, well, what if you miss something important? Odds are that it's not going to happen, but if it does and you feel like you are missing something, you can always read extra. There's no rule against it. So this might be a case where we would do that. We would find these few lines and hopefully correct the problem and pick the right answer. Hard question. Even without all that, it's a hard question. Hopefully, I helped in a whole bunch of ways. Small picture for this question, big picture for the reading strategy in general.